So first of all, Shavua Tov, and we're going to say again Mazal Tov. You know, they say better late than never. Af pam lo meuchar. And you know, there's a reason why we celebrate Hanukkah Bayit. There's not a halakha, it's not something that we do. But there are different places that we learn why somebody would do Hanukkah Bayit. And the first time we saw it is that Shlomo HaMelech did Hanukkah Bayit to the Beit HaMikdash. And he did a 2-week party. And he did it before Rosh Hashanah. Because he said when would be the best time to do it? Is to do it close as possible to the time that they built the Beit HaMikdash. But they couldn't do it throughout the time, the month of Tishrei, because it would be mixing two smachot together. Two joyous occasions. So he did it before that. And during the time of Sukkot, there was Simchat Bet HaShoeva, there was another type of Chanukat Bayit. So we see from Shlomo HaMelech that he was the first one that made a big deal out of a Chanukat Bayit. And the Zohar says that the Kadosh Baruch Hu also did a Chanukat Bayit. He built the world in 6 days, and the Shabbat was the Chanukat Bayit, is the inauguration of the house. He built himself a house. When the Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world, that was his house for him where to dwell. So Hashem also did a Chanukat Bayit. So we take from that the custom that we also, and we want to make sure that the house is going to be a house of Torah and a house of bracha. Even though if you rent or you buy, either way, this is the house where you stay, where you dwell. And the house is a very significant part of our life. And even the topic that we want to talk about is about Shalom Bayit. It doesn't say Shalom Marechet Yachasim or Shalom Nisuim, if you notice. I mean, the translation, the peace of the relationship or the peace of marriage. It says Shalom Bayit, the peace in the house. So that can be between me and my kids also has to be Shalom Bayit. But nevertheless, even if you look just at the way it said, how the term in Hebrew, if it would be just about marriage, then it would be something with the word nisuin. But it's saying Shalom Bayit, it has to have peace in the house. And needless to say that when a person doesn't have peace in his house, then the whole life is chaos. If a person is bothered by something in his house, then while he's working, he's not concentrated. Or whatever the person does, if the mind is not eased because he's bothered, then it throws the person completely off. And that's not only between a husband and wife, it can be even a child. The child, there's something going on in the house. Even today in schools, when the child is not behaving the right way, they ask you, something going on in your home? What's going on? There's a problem inside the house that you're behaving a certain way. So, since we wanted to find an appropriate topic, so we decided that we're going to talk a little bit about the peace in the house, which is very appropriate when we want to bring a bracha into the house, when we're doing the Hanukkah of the house. And Hanukkah, we just finished the holiday of Hanukkah, but Hanukkah is not only a holiday, Hanukkah means we are to inaugurate. And one of the many reasons why the holiday Hanukkah got the name Hanukkah, because it was the time of Chanukhat HaMizbeach. Even though another reason why they got the name Hanukkah, because on the 25th day of Kislev, they stopped the war. So Hanukkah is 2 words, Chanu, parked, Kafei. They parked on the Kafei on the 25th day of Kislev. So it got the name Hanukkah. But nevertheless, it started with them because of Chanukhat HaMizbeach. That's why if you notice, it should be fresh in your mind, it was last week, the Kriyat Torah, the reading of the Torah is about Chanukhat HaMizbeach. So Hanukkah is also an inauguration, when we celebrate the completion of building a home. So needless to say, here we're celebrating the physical building of the home, but the relationship that I build with my wife, that's building a home. When young couples get married, what do you bless them? They should have an everlasting home, a binyan adayad. They don't say nisuim adayad, binyan adayad. It's a building. You're building something here. People think that they get married and the first year they covered the ground. Marriage is 50, 60, 80 years, and sometimes people they need to work things out after 40 years. So the Torah is looking at the building, the structure of the house as something very sacred, something very holy, and something that obviously if there's so much emphasis around the building of the house, must be something there that has to be very personal to me. there is teachings of a great Talmid Chacham, a great Mekubal. He's known as the top student of Rabbi Yitzchak Luria the Arizal. His name is Rabbi Chaim Vital. Anyone that you will say the name Kabbalah, they right away say, oh, Arizal, he's the famous one. But his dominating student never gets any credit. He's known, his name is Rabbi Chaim Vital. He took all the teachings of the Arizal and he brought it into writing. We don't have books from the Arizal. And the Arizal actually said that he came to this world only to teach the Rabbi Chaim Vital. When the Arizal came to Tzfat, first of all, nobody knew who's the Arizal. Everybody didn't take him serious. And at the time, he lived in Egypt. The Arizal was born in Yerushalayim. Then he moved to Egypt when his father died because he went to live with his uncle. And he used to go there and he would learn one-on-one with Eliyahu Navi. And at some point, Eliyahu Navi told him, okay, now it's time for you to move to Eretz Israel. You have to go to Tzfat. He was 34 years old. And he went there just looking for Rabbi Chaim Vital. But why am I mentioning Rabbi Chaim Vital? Because Rabbi Chaim Vital took all the teachings of the Ari HaKadosh and he put it into books. One of his books, it's actually not really a book of Kabbalah, but is known as a great work of Rabbi Chaim Vital, and it's called Sha'arei Kedusha, the Gates of Holiness. This, I believe, is one of the most basic and most important books for any person that wants to work on themselves spiritually, is to learn this book. It's not such a big book, it's a very thin book, and it holds in it all the keys for what we need to do in this world. If you ask now an observant Jew, why do you think you're here in this world? They'll tell you to learn Torah and to do mitzvot. That's what I came here for. He says in this book, Sha'arei Kedusha, that that's not what we came here for. We didn't come here to learn Torah and to do mitzvot. Rather, we all came here for the main reason is to refine my character traits, to refine my midot. It's called tikkun midot. And the Torah and the mitzvot is to help me, is to give me tools. I basically came here as an unpolished diamond, and I have to now polish the diamond. That's my job. I was hired. My soul is my diamond, your soul is your diamond. I don't know if you ever saw a raw diamond coming out of the mine. It's a black stone. And you need to know how to break off the dirt and then to start polishing it. And then you need to know how to cut the diamond. And if you do a perfect job, the diamond can be worth tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. So we got a dirty soul, and Hashem says, here's a soul, here's the soul, here's the tools. The soul is the diamond, the tools is the Torah and the mitzvot. Now polish the diamond. And how do you polish the diamond? Is that each and every one of you, we're all equal. We're all born with a group of character traits that are very positive, and a group of character traits that are very negative. For example, the positives can be, a person can be very courteous, very charitable, very patient, very loving, very giving, and so forth. And on the negative side, a person can be quick to anger, no patience at all, very judgmental, very quick to be jealous, and so forth. So there are many types of midot. The teachings of the Arizal, when he brings it down through Rabbi Chaim Vital in Sha'arei Kedusha and many others, it's not the only one who teaches it. This is one type of method, so to say. There's many different methods. I have a whole course online. I actually have CDs here that you should take if it interests you, that I just made an introduction to the topic, 15-hour introduction about what does it mean Tikkun Midot. And there's many different types of approaches. There's the approach of Rabbi Chaim Vital from Sha'arei Kedusha. There's another approach from the Ramak, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, comes in the book Tomer Dvorah. There's the approach of the Baal Shem Tov. There's many different types of ways how to approach this method of Tikkun Midot. But this is really what I came to this world. I came to this world to refine my character traits. And if I was born with the midah of anger, of kas, means all my life that's what I have to work on. And it's not the right way of saying, that's my nature, you're never going to change me, that's me. That's the wrong approach. The right approach is saying, oh, I have some bad character traits, now how do I refine that? The Torah, of course, is going to be the tool that gives you all the ways how to work on yourself, how to recognize that I have bad midot. I mean, when we look in the mirror, we have a partner as a very bad partner, and this partner is called an ego. And my ego is the one who's going to tell me, no, what are you talking about? You are the symbol of perfection. What are you talking about? You look in the mirror, the ego tells you, oh, look at this, Hashem did himself here. And if chas v'shalom, somebody will come and tell you, you know what, you have a very bad habit, you're all the time late. You think you're going to say, oh, you know what, I'm so sorry, I didn't even notice. That's a very high level to say that. Most people say, I'm late? Who are you to dare to tell me something bad about me? That's the ego getting very affected, and he's like, no, don't give me musar now. Don't tell me what I'm bad at. How many times a person will be approached and somebody will tell him, you're lazy, you're always late. Why are you so judgmental? Why are you so impatient? Well, nothing's wrong with me, I'm perfect. Everybody else is wrong, and I'm the only one who's right. So in order for me to work on myself, first of all, I have to understand that nobody's perfect. I also have a lot of bad midot. So the first stage is that I have to be humble enough to recognize the faults in me. If I'm humble, then I can recognize two things. First of all, what I'm good at. Moshe Rabbeinu was the most humble man in history. That's what it says in the Torah. Vaish haya anav mikol. Nobody ever reached to the level of midat anava of Moshe Rabbeinu. He reached to such a high level of being anav, humble, that he reached the highest level of prophecy. There was no other prophet ever that came to the level of Moshe. Lo kam kenavi Moshe b'Yisrael. All the prophets got their prophecy in a dream. Moshe Rabbeinu speaking face to face to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because he was so humble that he was able to elevate himself to the highest level. Now, as humble as he was, he knew he's Moshe Rabbeinu. He knew who he is. He knew, I was the one who was selected by the Master of the universe to give the Torah. Normal person will have an ego out of control. But Moshe Rabbeinu knew his power, but nevertheless, he didn't take any credit. You know why? Because he says, if Hashem would give this power to somebody else, most likely he will do a better job than me. Where do we see the ultimate humble midat anava of Moshe Rabbeinu? You know the famous story that Korach came to fight with him. Now, Korach was not some shmo from the neighborhood. Korach was first of all a cousin. He came from the same family. More than that, Korach was a Talmid Chacham. He was a great sage in the Torah. He was able to take with him 250 heads of Sanhedrin to convince them. More than that, Korach was a gazillionaire. He was a billionaire. Up until today in Israel, if you want to say that somebody's rich, you say Ashir ka Korach. And nevertheless, this guy comes and he tells Moshe Rabbeinu, who made you king? Who are you to take the position? Who do you think you are that you're pulling strings here and you make yourself king? Your brother is the high priest and you're taking all the positions. And he started coming to rebuke him. Now what would you think would be the reaction of Moshe Rabbeinu? Any normal person, including us, would rather be like, whoa, who do you think you're talking to? I'm Moshe Rabbeinu. I am the king. I am the one who got the Torah. I am the one who speaks with Hashem. How dare you talk to me? I will have your head off. This is limrod b'malchut. You're going against the king. That's what we would think that Moshe Rabbeinu would react. The Torah tells us, you know what Moshe Rabbeinu did? Vayipol al panav vayevk. He fell on the ground and started crying. And he says, maybe I did something wrong. This is midat anava. So Moshe Rabbeinu was so humble, not because he felt that he's a loser. He knew exactly who he is. He knew his power, he knew his might, he knew that he's number one. He's number one, right? But nevertheless, he knew, this is my place. I'm good here, it doesn't mean I'm good there. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to be Kohen Gadol. Hashem told him, you are not a material for Kohen. Sorry to tell you, your brother's getting the Kohen. Moshe said, okay, no problem. Then came the task of building the kelim in the Aron Kodesh. Moshe says, me. Hashem says, no, you are not a builder. We're giving it to Betzalel. Not you. Sorry to tell you. You're good here. You're not good here. If I'm going to give you now a hammer and a nail, you're going to start banging your fingers, Moshe. Sorry to tell you. You're not a carpenter. Moshe Rabbeinu was able to know exactly how good he is in what, but he also credited that if anybody else will get the exact same ability, his thought was, you'll probably do a better job than me. But on the other hand, he also knew his faults. So I need to know that I have unbelievable qualities. When I'm looking around, I see unbelievable talents that I don't have. most likely you are a much better cook than me. Most likely you are a much better carpenter than me. Most likely you are a much better singer than me. Most likely you're all better than me in something. I know exactly what I'm good at. And I know there's no question that I'm good at that. I don't go and show off, oh, I'm the best in that. I just know Hashem gave me these qualities. I thank Hashem. I acknowledge that Hashem gave me these qualities. And I know that this is what I'm good at. But I also know that I have a long list of qualities and attributes that are very bad. Impatience, quick to anger, jealous, and so forth. Not me, I'm just saying in general. The first step you have to take is you have to humble yourself to be able to understand, I'm not the symbol of perfection. I'm not that great. And this is something that we all have a problem with, because why do we get upset? It's because our ego is hurt. Bechlal, in the structure, in the teachings of Tikkun HaMidot, Shlomo Melech says, Ze lumat ze bara Elokim. Hashem created everything with a pair. There's something good, on the other is always going to be on the other side something bad. So in the levels of the midot, on the good side of the midot, the highest of all midot, we just mentioned, is the midah, the attribute that is called anava, midat anava. That's the highest of all. But the lumatze, the other side of the midat anava, on the side of tum'ah, of impurity, is the midah that is called ge'ava. Ge'ava, pride. That's the highest and worst of all of them. So, looking at the comparison of the structure of the midot, if you're looking at the negative side, and the worst of all midot is the midah of ge'ava, the attribute of ge'ava, if my pride will be pushed, somebody will attack my pride, it will develop right away two midot. And the first two that it will develop will be anger and sadness. Kaas v'tzar v'etzev. Right away. Which means if I feel feelings of anger, means my ego was hurt. If I get hurt, means my ego was hurt. Now the third level that it will start developing, then it will start developing hate and resentment and jealousy and animosity and so forth, and feelings of revenge, and then there's going to go another level and another level and another level. If you're smart, you know how to backtrack where it came from. But to stay with the midah of ge'ava, if my pride was hurt, right away there's going to be a birth of a bad midah. And on the other side, if it's midat anava, if I'm humble, I'm not going to get hurt if you tell me that I'm wrong. If you're going to tell me you're late all the time, you're not responsible, I will be like, I'm sorry, you know what, I know about it, I'm working on it. But if I have zero midat anava, I will be like, how dare you tell me that I'm late all the time? Who are you to tell me you're also late? So, the reason why we're doing this small preparation, the whole topic of Tikkun HaMidot is a fascinating topic, because when you really look at it, you're saying, wait a minute, that's really what I need to do here. If you're going throughout your life and you don't work on yourself, you're going to go through 60, 70, 80 years of your life, leave this world and be like, I didn't do nothing in this world. I didn't take nothing from this world. I came the same way that I came, that's how I left. So there are many different approaches. I'm just talking about one type of approach of Rabbi Chaim Vital, but there are many types of teaching that all teach you how to refine yourself. And if you don't focus on that and you don't put that in the highest of your priority, you're missing the point. You're literally missing the point. Now why are we talking about all that? Because how do I really refine myself? To refine myself by myself, to take a bunch of books and to move to a deserted island, that is not going to work. It's never going to work. There's not one person that can be alive in this world and say, give me a lot of books and put me on a deserted island, I'll work on my midot. You know how you work on your midot? That Hashem puts in front of you the right people that know how to press all the buttons. So if I have to work on my anger, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to put to me a boss that all day long gets me angry. And if I need to work on patience, then Hashem is going to put for me kids that will drive me nuts all day long. Or a wife. And if I have to work on jealousy, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to put me in a neighborhood that everybody has beautiful BMWs and I don't. And I have only a Honda. And if I need to work on any type of midah, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to put me in front of the right people. I like calling them mirrors. So I can constantly see a reflection and be like, I don't like what I see. Tikkun HaMidot is like a bad hair day. That you're looking at the mirror and you're like, no, the hair doesn't work. So, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is so nice. He says, listen, I know you don't have the ability to work on yourself. Let me help you. I will send you a wife. Ezer kenegdo, a helpmate. If you're smart, she's going to be an ezer. She's going to help you. If you're not smart, she's going to be negdo. She's going to be against you. But this works both ways. I mean, we're talking about the wife is the ezer. It also works for the women. And the main character in my life that will help me refine myself is only my other half. Not my kids, not my boss, not my parents, not my neighbors. These are just side notes. But just take into consideration that any person in your life is a mirror for you to refine at least one midah. And I gave you a few examples, you use your imagination. And you have to first step is to humble yourself, because if you're coming into this challenge with ego, it will never work. You will fail on day number one. You have to give in. You have to humble yourself. You have to remove any type of geava and say, okay, let me start working here. And like I said, the main character in this avodah is your wife or your husband, because that's a person that you were looking for 20, 30 years. I always tell married couples that they have challenges, just remember how much you looked for your other half. Do you remember those years? How you were praying all day long? You were finishing books of Tehillim just to meet your other half. How many graves you went and you lie down on. And finally you find it, you forgot all that, right? You forgot how desperate you were. How many times your name mentioned your name. How many times you did all sorts of actions till you found that other half. So for 20, 30 years of our life, we're looking for that person. Finally we meet the person, the Kadosh Baruch Hu does some type of magic and you fall in love and you don't see any faults. In the beginning everything is, wow, perfect, she's so perfect. Like as if you're like under the influence and you're like, no, I don't see all the bad things. And then 2 months later, after into the marriage, suddenly, oh my gosh, look, what is this? This is not what I married. That didn't come in the contract. But you have to see how smart the Kadosh Baruch Hu is. And your wife or your husband, your spouse, is always going to be the perfect mirror placed in front of you. Now you can take this challenge and crush into the mirror, or you can take this challenge and says, okay, thank you, dear. I know that you're here to refine me. Now let's see what I can take from here. So the whole idea of marriage, people think marriage is about walking hand in hand into the sunset with hearts over the head. And I love you too. That's only works in the movies. Doesn't work in real life. Once I gave a class specifically about that, and I was mentioning, the class goes in depth, but I was mentioning that in our generation, we are so affected by the media that since we were young, we have some type of an idea what marriage needs to be. Because on the billboards and in movies and in shows, marriage is romance and love. And that's not marriage. Marriage is not romance. I mean, you have to have some romance and love, but it's not about that. And we are grown with some type of a distorted perspective of what marriage needs to be, so we go after that. And people don't understand that, into marriage, 10 years later into marriage, people don't look the same. The man loses his hair, the woman gains a little bit of weight. It's not the same thing. So we have, Baruch Hashem, we have a great zchut that we have simultaneously a yeshiva and a midrasha. But it's not for young people, it's for older people. So we see both the sides. So there's no difference between men and women that are looking for a shidduch when they're 20 and when they're 50. Just when they're 50 it's harder because they don't have the same physique, there's not a lot of hairs, much more picky. And there's one student in our yeshiva that he's not married, he's 48. And he's not married. And now finally he found a possibility, a shidduch. And he goes on the date, he comes back and I tell him, no, how did it go? She's not for me. Why she's not for you? What did she do? She didn't do nothing, she's a nice girl. But why is she not for you? I'm not attracted to her. I'm not attracted to her. What do you think, you're 19? Well, what do you think, that you are the next model of the generation? Can I remind you that you're bald, fat and short? And you're 48 and you're unemployed and you're still not married? What do you think? You are like John Travolta? What do you think you are? I'm not attracted to her. Give her a chance. Maybe she's an unbelievable woman. Maybe she's your other half, and who said you have to be attracted to her on the first date? You think marriage is about attraction? And his mind is so narrow I'm not attracted to her. I said, listen, I understand. It has to be attraction. Give the person the opportunity. What do you think marriage is about? Just being attracted? So I see sometimes how people are so limited in how they're thinking, and it's distorted. And where is that all coming from? It's coming from the distorted message we're getting from media and movies and society. There's not the right education of what marriage is about. There's not a right education of people saying, marriage is not only about how the person looks. It doesn't really mean that it's matter how much money the person makes. Many times I hear women saying, if he doesn't make X amount of money, I don't want to go on the date even. What do you think? You have a contract now for 50 years. What if he gets fired after 2 years? We have good friends. Thank you. We have good friends that when they met, the husband had an unbelievable job, making, 250, 300,000 a year. Very good job. Fancy car, house, money, was thin, had a lot of hair, everything, the whole deal. And into the marriage, 5-6 years later, he got fired from that great job. So he lost all his money. With losing his money, he lost a lot of his energy. So he became sick. He gained weight. He lost his hair. Suddenly, the ball turned. Now, what do you take from that? That when you met him, he was rich, handsome, and young, and now he's poor, fat, and bald. So, Baruch Hashem, these are normal people that they go through the struggle. But the point to take from that is that marriage is not about me. Marriage is about the other person. What's about me is how is that person refining me. Now, if I go against that person, I will never learn from that person what I need to be refined. So there are two ways to looking into the marriage. First of all, the marriage is not about me. If I'm coming to the marriage and I'm self-centered and and I only care about me, it will never ever work. And more than that, if I'm looking at the person as what can I get out of that person to benefit me, then it will never work. But if I'm looking at the other person as, first of all, that person is even doing me a favor that they're even looking at me. And more than that, I'm saying, of course, in an exaggerated way. And I'll tell you in a second why I'm saying that. But if I look at the person and says, please show me how bad I am, and I want to refine myself, then I'm starting to make some room into the relationship. There's a very special rabbi that unfortunately died a few years ago, and he did probably hundreds of shidduchim, hundreds. And he had such a magical approach to the young couples, or older couples. And one thing that he used to do before he would send the people on a shidduch, he would prep them, give them, don't say this, don't say that. And he used to do always the same thing. Right before going out on the shidduch, he would take them, put them in front of a mirror, put the hand around them. Of course, the women know, but he would look in the mirror and says, look in the mirror. What do you see? I see myself. Good. And he would tap them on the back. Just remember one thing. You're not that great. And he would send them off to the date. You're not that great. Don't think you are coming into the date now, I'm a prize. And she has to be thankful that I'm even sitting in front of her. And this approach is not only for the first date, it's the approach of an everyday. That I'm not that great. It's very easy to point at my wife and tell her, you're messy, you're lazy, you're late, you're not responsible, where's my dinner, my shirts are not ironed. That's very easy to do that. But before you do that, is to look in the mirror and says, am I really great? I also leave my underwear on the floor. I'm also sloppy. I'm also, not me. Well, I don't want you to get any ideas here. But the thing is that every time that I see something that bothers me in my wife, and your ego right away wants to say, whoa, why are you doing that? Right away I calm myself down and I right away remind myself all the faults that I have. And very quickly, the fault that I see over there is not so bad when I compare to myself. Besides the fact that if I see a fault in my wife, let's first start by the approach of the Baal Shem Tov, that if I see a fault in you, means I have it. First of all, if I recognize in you something that bothers me, it means that I recognize in you what I have, and it bothers me to see how ugly I look. But I throw the light on you. That's first of all. But second of all, when I see a fault, then I right away stop and I'm like, wait a minute, why is Hashem showing me this fault? Do I have to work on patience? Probably. Do I have to work on forbearance? Most likely. Do I have to work on not getting angry? Probably. And if you're smart, you're looking at the person and you understand that that person is a reflection of you, especially your other half. Now, unfortunately, in our day, 3-4 fights, yalla, let's get a divorce. Whoa, where are you going for the divorce? Wait a minute, give it a try. Now, in our day of age, everything that you want to buy, they give you a free trial. How come there's no free trial for marriages? You should think of it, right? Give me a 30-day trial. We'll see how it is. If I like it, we'll continue. So, we started by saying that the whole idea is called Shalom Bayit because marriage is like a house, and house you build from bricks, and house you build from one step after another step, and the first floor and the second floor. Same thing with marriage. You don't build marriage. You don't come into the marriage and that's it. It's going to work. That only works in theory. Marriage is when you build it 1 year and then another year and another year and another child and another child and another challenge and another challenge. If you're doing it the right way, marriage will take you 20 years to build it. Don't go into the marriage and right away everything works out. So I like looking at the approach because we like taking things practical. I don't like talking theory. Theory is not anything that's going to do anything to me. And to talk big words, it's also not going to do anything. If you don't take the Torah and you make it practical, then you're wasting your time. Our sages say, the action is the main part. Reading in the book doesn't give you anything. If you don't go out and you apply that, then you're really wasting your time. So of course, this is a very broad topic and so much more to talk about, but at least we want to get something from tonight that I can apply into my life. And this something is to understand that I have a lot of unbelievable qualities. And you need to know what your qualities are. You need to know and to say to yourself over and over, I am an amazing husband. I am an amazing lawyer. I am an amazing teacher, whatever it is. I'm very charitable. I'm very generous. You need to know where your strong side. But at the same time, you need to say, I know I'm always late. I know I'm not responsible so much. I know I'm a little bit sloppy. I know I'm very quick to anger. I'm very quick to judge. You have to know where you're holding. Of course, this can only be achieved when you humble yourself. If you don't humble yourself, you'll never will achieve it. And if somebody comes and tells you something, right away you're going to block it away. And when I was younger, not that I'm a dinosaur right now, but when I was much younger, my ego was completely out of control. If somebody would dare to tell me anything that is a fault, I would lose my temper. How dare you? Who you think you are to tell me where I'm failing? I am Mr. Perfect. Don't you know that? It says here perfect, don't you see? So it took me years and years to figure out that I'm far away from perfect. I'm far away. And I give a lot of credit to my wife because she came and told me, you're great, but you're not that great. You have a lot of, long list of things that you need to work on. So I find one example that I like to share is that there's a certain individual in our life that's a very special individual. She helps us a lot in our organization, works, supports, and so forth. First of all, she's older than me. She sees me, she calls me, you are my rabbi, you are my teacher, and she helps a lot. And so, helps a lot. There's a lot of communication. One time, she came and told me, she's like, listen, I want to tell you something, and I'm telling you just because I respect you, not because I'm trying to start an argument or to put you down, but you did this certain action, this certain thing, and you're repeating it, and it's not good. It's not a nice thing. It's definitely not something you should do, and I don't think anybody has either the courage or the awareness to see that and to come and tell you. And this is what you did. Right away, the volcano, I was feeling the anger. Steam is coming from my ear. I'm trying to calm myself down. The sweat is coming down my forehead. My brain is throbbing. How dare she tell me that? How dare she comes to me and tell me that I did this action? I didn't lose anything. That's inside, of course. Outside, like a poker face. But the body is starting to get, all sorts of irrelevant, my hands are moving, and in my mind, all I can think is, how dare she tell me such a thing? And I, Baruch Hashem, was keeping a cool face. And I told her, thank you for bringing this to my awareness. I appreciate it. And I went and I left and I came home and I was so upset. And I'm asking myself, why are you upset? Let's cut to the chase. Nobody in the room, nobody heard this conversation, but I'm telling myself, why are you so upset? You know why you're upset? Because she's on the money. She's 100% right. And you have some type of a blemish in the ego, that your ego is so pumped up that you would never figure it out by yourself. That's how the ego works. It puts you in a position that you don't even notice how you look. And I was trying to calm myself down. And after a few hours of pacing backwards and forth in the room, I was saying to myself, who am I kidding? She is 100% right. And she now turned the spotlight on me. She pointed at me a weak point, and I don't like it. Because I don't want to be finding myself in a place of weakness. And I'm going through it in my mind. I'm like, I can't believe it. I am doing it. I cannot believe it. I'm doing it a lot. How embarrassing. Now, if she noticed it, oy vavoy. Means other people noticed it, but they just didn't tell me. Either they're afraid, either they thought it's disrespectful, either they, I don't know what. But nobody told me. And that reminded me that maybe a year before that, one time I was giving a class. All the classes are recorded. And unfortunately, we don't have the budget to have a film crew, so the camera just sits there. And I don't really, sometimes I look at the camera to make sure the audio is going on, the lights are on, and I don't look at the camera. Okay, the video goes online, pass a few days, and somebody sends me a message and tells me, I think you should look at the video, there's something not so good there. Okay, go look at the video, and you know what was not good there? There was an antenna. Like this. That's how it was, the whole video, an antenna. I look like Krusty the Clown. And as I'm looking at the video, my kids are there and they're laughing. Ah, look at you, they're having the time of their life. And in my eyes, I'm like, oh my God, look at that. Why did nobody tell me? You know how embarrassing is this? Oh my God. I don't know, when maybe it was static in the room and tick. And I'm like, okay, I tell the YouTube guy, get rid of it, take it off. He's like, what do you mean take it off? It's already out, we shared it, you know, if you share it and now people will click on the link, then you take it off, it's not going to go to the video. And he started giving me the whole mechanical part of the sharing. It's already shared on all social media. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you want to tell me 6,000 people saw it? And in my mind, I'm like, you got to get it off somehow. This is embarrassing. But then I was like, you know what? 6,000 people had a good laugh. Good. So on my account, let them laugh. People, let them laugh. You know, people anyways are serious and people are sad. If I could make somebody laugh, fine, let them laugh on my account. I don't care. Give us the address. Yeah? The next day, I come to class and I tell to my dear students, ladies, couldn't you tell me I have an antenna? Just go like that. Just go like, tell me. I mean, I'm sitting in front of you, and I see them. Just have a little bit of courtesy and tell me, hello, bad hair day. And I told them, why didn't you tell me that? Now, some of the students, it's a joke. They come in, they're like, but wouldn't you want to know when you have a crumb here? I mean, we have beards. I mean, the bearded ones know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have a crumb here. And they walk, sometimes I walk the whole day and there's a crumb here, breakfast. And somebody goes like, in the beginning, when I was a rookie with a beard, I was like, what are you doing? And I figured out that there's breakfast here. So, when we were kids, we used to take a note and like write something like kick me or whatever and stick it on somebody's back. And I mean, we don't see how we look. Baruch Hashem, we have mirrors. And now, unfortunately, we have phones. Everybody's on their phones all day long. But we don't know how we look. Wouldn't you want somebody to come and tell you that you have a crumb or hair sticking out or dirt over here? Or, of course you would want to. You don't want to look like a fool in front of people. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu did the exact same thing with the people around you. To come and tell you, hello, you don't look that great. Going back to what this lady told me, It took me a couple hours to calm myself down. And then I was like, you know what? She is so right. I would have never figured it out by myself. If she would not point it at me, maybe she's the only one who saw it. But the fact was that she was 100% right. In the beginning, my ego was fighting it. No, she's due. And then I was like, who am I kidding? She's on the money. And it is embarrassing and it is not nice. And a few days later, I told her, you know what? Thank you so much. I am so thankful and appreciative to the fact that you had the courage to come and tell me that I did something wrong. I wanted to fire you. I wanted to scream at you. I wanted to quit as your rabbi. I'm not your rabbi anymore. Don't call me anymore. But thank you for having the courage and the dignity and the integrity to come and tell me, I appreciate you. I admire you. You're doing amazing things, but sometimes you don't do. And to be able to accept criticism, you have to know how to work on yourself. You have to humble yourself. And the only one who will gain from it is only you, not anybody else. So you have to know how to loosen the screws of the ego, that I can come and get some feedback. And the one who's going to give you the best feedback is your spouse. Not your worker, not your boss, not your neighbor, is your spouse. Your spouse is always going to come and give you the best feedback. It might come in a form of an argument. It might come in a form of a fight. It might come in a form of a way that really ticks you off. But if you get angry, if you get into a fight, if you get upset, the problem is with you. The problem is not somebody, it's not the other person, it's you are the problem. When I get to a point that my wife brings me to a point that I will get upset, I blame 100% on me. I don't blame her. It's very easy to blame my wife. Why are you telling me that? Why are you doing that? Why are you behaving like that? But I right away stop and I turn it around and I say, I'm the one at fault here. And she's now being kind. It might not be done in the right way, but she's kind and she's telling it to me in a certain way. Now, the not right way to do it is when you attack each other. That you would say an undeveloped relationship or a young relationship or whatever it is. But nevertheless, if the husband and wife, they have a very good connection, then this mirror thing is going to work in a very accommodating way. And then when my wife will come and tell me something, I will not get offended. I will not get defensive. I will listen and be like, thank you so much. Now let me do it. So, of course, there's a lot more to focus on. There's a lot more to work on. But like I said before, it's all about taking something and making it practical. Not to just come here and sit and, nod and smile and eat the sushi and everything. That's all nice. But I like taking something out of the room. If you come here and you don't take something out of the room, so why did you come? I mean, the sushi is amazing and the salad is great, but why did you come here? Not only to honor the balabait, to take something here. You could have stayed home now and go to rest, go to whatever, do something. So if you already came here and you're not going with something out of the door, so you went to the mall and you didn't do any shopping. So since we come to celebrate the Hanukkah Bayit, and the Hanukkah Bayit is about building the home and building the relationship and having an everlasting home, and the home is not only the physical structure, it's also the relationship and how the kids get educated and so forth, and Bezrat Hashem, many more kids and grandkids and so forth, then I look at marriage as one of the most important parts in my life. Because it's the person that I share a lot of things, whether it's my love, my feelings, my space, my money, my growth, my success, my failures. But more than that, that's the personal trainer. I look at my wife as a personal trainer. If I want to go to the gym and I want to get into good shape, I need a personal trainer. If I want to go to a certain trade in my life, I need some type of a mentor, whether it's business, whatever it is. So my wife is not only my spouse, she's my personal trainer. She's going to know when to pull and when to push and when to really put pressure. And the right approach is that I accept it. So if you want to take it practically, is that you have to know how to humble yourself. Is you need to take a minute out of your day, 2 minutes out of your day, and look in the mirror and say, like what this dear rabbi taught me, is that you're not that great. To look in the mirror and say, I know you have very good qualities, but you're not that great. Now let the world show me what I'm not great at, so so I can work on myself. Not so I can get upset, not so I can lose my anger, not so I can lose my patience, is to take the feedback and to digest it. Let me chew on it, and I'll digest it. And could very much be that the feedback is false, it's coming from anger, jealousy, or whatever, or just to annoy me, and I'm not going to take it as any good feedback. Or take this information, and if you're not 100% sure, go to your best friend. Do I really behave like that? Go to your other best friend. Is this true? And am I doing this thing? If you get a few yeses, obviously that's the situation. So if I don't figure it out by myself, then I will go to somebody. Somebody once told me something, you're always late. You know what was my reaction? Well, of course I'm always late, because for me to walk from here to there, everybody stops me. Rabbi, I have a question. So I'm almost late. And I was like, that's a good answer, but it's not an excuse. Because somebody told me not too long ago, I love your classes, but you're always late. And I wanted to answer back the same answer. Well, of course I'm late. Everybody stops me on the way. Today going out of the shul, 45 minutes. Rabbi, I have a question. Just a small question. And I wonder, how you measure a small or big question? When it goes on the scale? Just a small question. What does it mean a small question? Only three words? So I wanted to answer, of course I'm late, because everybody's around me all the time and stopping me, and I'm telling people I'm late for the class. No, I have a question. It's very important. It's life or death. But instead of answering right back with an excuse, I was like, okay, take the feedback. Start digesting it. You don't have to answer right away. Answering right away, we say in Hebrew, chamor kofetz barosh. A donkey jumps first. Take it and digest it. And I chewed on it a few hours, and I said, you know what? I should make an effort. If it bothers somebody that I'm coming late, I should make an effort that if somebody stops me on the street to say I'm late to a class, ask the question between 2 and 4, come to my office. That's when I'm accepting questions. Learn how to communicate with other people. Tell people, I'm sorry to tell you, somebody's waiting for me. And instead of getting angry, or instead of finding an excuse, because finding an excuse is easy, is to say, how can I work on that? If it bothered one person, there's a great chance that it bothers another 2 or 3. So you take this feedback and you say, okay, let me work on it. Let me find a way how I will never or should not be late to classes or meetings or whatever. So you take all this approach and you apply it in your marital life. You see that very quickly marriage is more about discussion. It's a more open communication. I'm not looking at my wife as an enemy. She's trying to attack me. Why is this woman attacking me all the time? She's not attacking you. She's doing you a favor. So you want to make sure that you're really working on your midat anava, that you humble yourself. And one of the ways of humbling yourself is knowing how great you are in whatever you're great. It's not disqualifying yourself or making yourself what they call a loser. I'm a loser, I'm not good for nothing. No, you're not. You probably have at least 10 to 20 unbelievable qualities that nobody else has. So empower that. Then you have to look at the ones that are your fault and say, why did I come to the world? I come to the world to eat. I came to the world to drink and go on Facebook and watch movies. I came to refine myself. One day I want to stand in front of Hashem and say, look, this is the before picture, this is the after picture. I'm sure you notice that in many times when I go to lectures, especially of my personal experience, there's always the before and after picture. Because if I'm going to come just with the after picture, what's the big deal? So you have a yarmulke and you have a beard. Look at the before picture. The beard was here and there was nothing on the face. Not that I'm trying to take credit, but to look at myself and says, here's the before, here's the after. Here's the before the effort, here's the after the effort. And needless to say that you want to give credit to the ones who help you. So the next time that your spouse is coming and attacking you in any type of a way, you have to, don't take it as an attack. Take it as a constructive criticism that most likely you are 100% guilty. Most likely. If your wife or your husband, they tell you, why you always leave a mess? Say, wait a minute, why do I leave a mess? Is it so hard to put the cup in the sink? But an untrained individual would be like, I leave a mess? Did you see how you left the bathroom yesterday? And you're telling me I leave a mess? You also leave a mess. Right away you have a fight. Right away there's an argument. You could have prevented it by saying, she's right, I do leave a mess. Doesn't matter if she does right now. I leave a mess. Okay, let me work on that. I will make sure I clean up the counter after I'm done with my coffee and everything spilt everywhere. So the point to take from that is that your spouse is your other half. It's your ezer kenegdo, your helpmate. In English doesn't work well, the helpmate, the ezer kenegdo. The point to take to that is that you have to be very appreciative to the ones that Hashem put in your life, even your kids. I look at my kids, and they're the greatest mirrors that I have in my life. If I have to be patient or hold my anger and so forth. So we want to work on my ego. I want to work on the fact that I need to be able to accept some criticism. And more than that, I have to constantly chant in my mind that the marriage is not about me. Marriage is about the other person. And nothing is about me. If I have the attitude that it's all about me, everybody owes me, then nothing's going to work. Not in the house, not in the business, not anywhere. If the approach is, how can I do something good for you, then any type of relationship you have is going to be successful. Not only with your wife, also with other people. So Hashem gave us the midah, attribute of chesed, of kindness, so I can look at another person and don't look at the person, what can I get out of this guy right now? Maybe I can get money, maybe I can get a position, maybe I don't know what, connections. That's the wrong attitude. The right attitude is to look at a person and say, can I help you? Can I do something for you today? Maybe I can help you in any type of a way. So Torah is not only about learning the Torah, not only about performing the mitzvot. A big pillar of the Torah is called Gemilut Chasadim. And when we know our sages say, Torah omedet al shlosha dvarim, the Torah stands on three things. Al Torah, al avodah, which means prayers and Torah, Gemilut Chasadim, also charitable acts. Charitable acts is not writing a check to my favorite organization. That's not a charitable act. That's a tax-deductible excuse. Charitable act is when I go to somebody and say, how can I do something for you? Can I give you a ride? Can I babysit your kids while you can go and rest? Can I do something for you? That's a charitable act, that I don't think of myself. I think of you. And I see somebody else that is in need and I say, how can I make your life a little bit better? And not because I want to gain anything. Not because I'm going to get something out of that. Because that's a charitable act. So we want to take all this information, apply it into our life, and to understand that marriage, again, this is not a business deal. It's not a business transaction. It's not about how I look, what I'm getting here, how much money is involved here. Is how am I refining myself? How can I thank that person that is helping me work on myself? You take these little points and you start applying it into your life. A, you're going to have a much better marriage. B, if you're not married, then you know how to go into marriage. You know, when I became a chatan, when I got engaged, in the beginning, nobody prepared me what's marriage. Even though I was 30 years old, but nobody sat and told me, listen, let me tell you what marriage is about. Nobody did that. Baruch Hashem, at some point, I did meet the right individual and told me, oh, you are engaged? Let me teach you a little bit about what it means to be a husband. And you know, the classes weren't really like patting me on my shoulder, you're going to be an amazing husband. He was punching it out. But at least I needed to hear that. And unfortunately, in our education system, they don't really teach teenagers what marriage is about. It's not sanua. And they're not doing it the right way, which is a big problem, because the teenagers do need to be, not teenagers when they're 13, but when they're getting closer to marriage, has to be educated what it means a marriage. So the first of all is we want to make sure that marriages are successful. There's so many divorces and there's so many mismatches and so forth, that try to take these little few points that we talked about tonight and apply it into your life. I can guarantee to you that your marriage will be much better. If your marriage is much better, you're going to function as an individual much better. Because when somebody has arguments in the house and turmoils and disagreements, you don't function well. I sometimes see men in the morning when they pray, I see how their mind is. I already know there was a fight in the morning. It's not the same prayer. Or during the day, a person is distracted all day long and the phone calls and the texts and why she's saying that, I can't stand this anymore. Who needs this headache? So, and I'm not saying that every marriage is going to be a love story, but a person should not be distracted all day long with disagreements and arguments and fights. So you want to apply that into your life, because marriage is, again, it's not only about having a joint account or to do your taxes together. This is not marriage. It's about how can I contribute to this relationship? How can I contribute to that person? How can I make that person's life a little bit better? I fell in love with her 20 years ago. I was looking for her for 20 years. Now suddenly I forgot about it. And more than that is, how am I working on myself from this? Because at the end of the day, you have to remember that when you were born, Hashem gave you an unpolished diamond, and you are obligated. This is part of your obligation, is when you leave this world to say, here's the polished diamond. You hired me to polish a diamond. Here's the diamond. I did my part. I polished the neshama. So Bezrat Hashem, you take a little bit of this information. Hopefully you took notes in your mind, and if you didn't take notes in your mind, then watch the rerun and you take notes in your hand and you apply that. And you want to get to a point that your marriage is happy, that you're building a beautiful home, that your kids can get an idea, what does it mean marriage? And they don't go and have the distorted way of thinking of what marriage is about. And needless to say that when we're able to build a strong foundation in the home, this is like a small Bet HaMikdash, then it's able to bring the ultimate connection between completely Am Yisrael and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. When I build a little house based on Kedusha, purity, holiness, unity, love, acceptance, and so forth, it slowly starts radiating into the world. If you look around the world, you see the whole world is about disagreements and fights and hate and hate for no reason. So every little house that we build, it's also manifesting outside. You're able to affect other people. So we want to wish again the Balabatim that you should have binyan adayad, you should have a beautiful, healthy home full of kedusha and tahara. That your home should be always open to guests, and your home should always be open to Torah. And you should raise beautiful kids, many more kids. You should raise them to Torah, Chuppah, U'Maasim Tovim. And you should become an example to other people what a real, true love and marriage is about. And you should always have the merit to host Shiurei Torah in your home. Amen. And the Hanukkah Bayit, that you should build a beautiful home, a stable home. And Bezrat Hashem, very soon the home should move east, Shama, what's it called, that place? Israel? Yerushalayim. You can come to Tzfat if you want, but Be'ezrat Hashem, that you start here, and Hashem is going to help you to develop. And not only the Balabatim that invited us today for the Hanukkah Bayit, everybody, I wish you to have a everlasting marriage and a binyan adayad, and you should all merit to build beautiful homes. And if it's already, you're already way into it, then your kids should build beautiful homes. You should merit to marry off kids. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that's the bond of the husband and wife, in a very personal way, should affect the entire world, and we should finally see the ultimate marriage between the Kadosh Baruch Hu and Am Yisrael. This is the ultimate Chatan v'Kala, bride and groom. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should see that very soon with our own eyes, and we should all have a beautiful rest of the evening. Shavua Tov, and again Mazal Tov, and B'Sha'a Tova.